from 2014. The 1876 election had seen the election of the GOP Hayes based on a compromise. The military was pulled out of the South, ending Reconstruction efforts and toppling state GOP governments. White Democrats would make the South one party and would isolate and prey upon African Americans. But in terms of populism, that was okay. Then James was elected, and what followed was, to James's credit in 1881, and a tragedy too. James was a GOP man too, but he had better control and discipline than Hayes. James Garfield would reform the U.S. public service and purge corruption from the post office. He appointed African Americans to prominent federal positions, promoted civil rights, and educated as a means to a free and fair electorate. And then, 200 days into office, he was assassinated by a nut job. The nut job was, like any other extreme right-wing idiot that has ever lived. Born in Illinois to an ethnically French family of Huguenots, Guiteau had been given $1,000 and instructed to study in New York by his father. He had listening issues and struggled as a student. He dropped out and joined a religious cult, but struggled to find his place. He went to Boston and got an easily achieved legal license, but was a failure as a barrister, managing to enrage most of his clients. Next, Guiteau turned to theology and stole material from the cult for which he had been booted. Then he decided to support the Republicans' people. He begged Hayes for political favors, and then Garfield. Garfield had opposed corruption, so Guiteau decided to shoot him. Guiteau chose a pearl-handled revolver for reasons of posterity. He picked his moment, approached Garfield from behind, and shot him twice. Garfield would probably have survived, but for the medical treatment he received by doctors that had not sterilized their surgery equipment or hands, as would be routine 10 years later. It took 11 weeks for Garfield to die. In defense, Guiteau would claim he was not guilty because the doctors killed him. I just shot him. The defense failed, and so on this day in 1882, 9 months after the shooting, Guiteau was hung. On the morning of his hanging, Guiteau wrote a poem. I'm going to the Lordy, I'm so glad, I'm going to the Lordy, I'm so glad, I'm going to the Lordy, glory, glory, hallelujah. I'm going to the Lordy, I love the Lordy with all my soul, glory, hallelujah. And that is the reason I'm going to the Lord. Glory, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah. I'm going to the Lord. I saved my party and my land. Glory, hallelujah. But they have murdered me for it, and that is the reason I'm going to the Lordy. Glory, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah. I'm going to the Lordy. I wonder what I will do when I get to the Lordy. Guess that I'll weep no more when I get to the Lordy. Glory, hallelujah. I wonder what I will see when I get to the Lordy. I expect to see most glorious things, beyond all earthly conception, when I'm met with the Lordy. Glory, hallelujah, I'm with the Lord. He was the only right-wing extremist to assassinate a president of the U.S. He seemed incapable of rational thought. His application of poetry on a par with another right-wing terrorist, McVeigh, who claimed he was the captain of his soul. Guiteau's case was one of the first attempts at an insanity defense in the U.S. for a high-profile case. At 9 months, he was the longest survivor of an assassination of a U.S. president. That's it for today. Now, I don't see anyone here, so if you come by this video later on and you like it, like it! Also, feel free to comment and share. Spread the love. Be well.